Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back. So in the last episode, you guys saw me section in the rear portions of our rocker panels and then also get my rear footwell panel mounted. It turned out really good, and I think I've made you guys wait long enough. This video, I'm going to completely wrap up the rest of the back half metalwork on this car. That means all of the little brackets and little pieces and the trunk supports and the trunk latch support, everything that needs to be welded together. I'm going to show you guys how to prep the bare metal here. I'm going to show you guys also how to fully install the quarter panels on both sides here, and that's doing the final fit check. That's making sure everything lines up and welding them solid. And I am also one of those weirdos that still leads panels. It's definitely a lost art, but you know, that lead holds up for a long time. I know for sure in this car, and then also our 68 Charger, which I promise we're gonna get back on eventually. But the lead seams are about, you know, the only solid things that were on these cars, you know, that really stand the test of time, and that's leading, okay? Your body fillers, everything else has come a long ways, but I still like the peace of mind knowing that my lead seams will not fail, and they will still look good when everything else in this car looks bad and T-Bone has to go back and restore this thing again. So where do we get started? Now we're gonna start with prepping our quarter panels, just because I have to let this stuff sit overnight, and the stuff that I'm referring to is the lizard skin. I like to do that. It's just a nice undercoating, especially on the insides of panels where you don't need the UV protection and it's not going to see the elements, you know. So for example, when I strip and I do the bottom side of the car, we're gonna use Raptor liner. Designed to be outside, designed to see all of those harsh elements and everything, even though I can guarantee you guys this car is never going to see another day of salt in its life, at least as long as I own it. Hopefully as long as this monster owns it. But yeah, so in this case, it's just fine to use the lizard skin. I really like to use this stuff on the insides of the quarter panels, and especially after I get one of them sprayed down, or actually after T-Bone gets it sprayed down, because he's dying to crack open that damn can of lizard skin and get spraying. But I'll show you guys the difference in the sound, especially. You got that tinniness of the metal here, and you know, that's gonna completely take that away. Yes, it does add a little bit of weight, but it does make a big difference. And you know, from the factory, these cars did come with the undercoating on the insides of the quarters. So we're gonna do that, and then yeah, get everything fit up onto the car here while that's all curing. Another thing too is that you definitely can paint over the top of lizard skin. There's no problem with that. But like I said just a minute ago, you have to let this stuff sit overnight. If you try to paint it too fast, it's actually going to kind of reactivate it, and it's not going to dry, and you're going to have a big mess on your hands that you'll have to deal with. So while that stuff is drying, we're going to go ahead, we're going to clean that up, we're going to spray that down with some epoxy 2K primer, and then also come back, dress out all of our nasty looking welds here, the plug welds that we did when we welded this in, and just clean all of this up. Coat the inside of this whole thing in Pour 15. We're also going to coat the insides here of our trunk drops in Pour 15 as well. I just like that. Again, having the peace of mind knowing that this thing is not going to rust out is a big deal. You can see how good Pour 15 looks up here. The rest of this is going to look exactly the same. So a whole lot of work to do, guys, but I tell you what, I think we're down to maybe the last 2, maybe 3 metalwork videos, because I did order the US Car Tool chassis stiffening kit for this, which is probably going to be in the next video, which is all the torque boxes, the frame connectors, the radiator support, all of that stuff is also going in this car. And I'll just reference somebody's comment that I saw today. This thing will likely turn into a pretzel with how much power I plan on putting behind it and what I plan on doing with this car, and that is driving the living shit out of it the moment that I can. So the first moment that I can. So to make sure that it's ready for that, we're gonna be doing that in the next video. So enough talking. We got some Scotch-Brite pads here. We're gonna start scuffing this thing up. We're gonna take those stickers off. A little bit of acetone actually softens those up with a razor blade. You can peel them off just fine. But we're gonna Scotch-Brite the insides of these, and then T-Bone is going to spray our lizard skin. So wish me luck. All right, guys, so I've got my first quarter panel all prepped out here, and it's ready to spray. Got it scuffed down. I ended up using some of these just straight from Lowe's heavy-duty scuffing pads, and man, do they bite a whole lot better than the red Scotch-Brites. It's a lot faster, and very happy with how everything turned out. Took a lot of the sheen off. Should provide some great tooth for us to apply the lizard skin to. But got my holes drilled out, got it in weld through primer, and then I also went ahead, after that dried, got everything taped up so that way my lizard skin does not get on any place where I don't want it. So we're pretty much ready to spray, and I popped open my bucket that I had on the shelf of lizard skin, about a half gallon or so, and in the small print on the back side of the containers on these, and then also body filler, you know where it says do not freeze or do not let freeze? Well, unfortunately, it was pretty cold this winter, guys, and this is what happens when you let this stuff freeze, okay? It turns into Play-Doh, and it's a complete waste. You can't use it, and yeah, it really sucks. So thankfully I've got a Summit Racing not too far away from me, and actually it was on sale this week, so I think I spent roughly $100 shipped to my house. So I think the sale was like $80 in tax and shipping and everything else, but that's what it's supposed to look like. That is definitely not what it's supposed to look like. So we're gonna give this a good stir. My man T-Bone here, he's gonna go ahead and shoot it once we get it all mixed up, and we'll go ahead and we'll coat both of our quarter panels and get them ready to install on the car. guys, so we're just about ready to slap on our quarter panels here and wanted to kind of bring you up to speed on everything that you just saw. So first off, ground down all my welds on everything, ended up coating it all in 2 coats of Pour 15. Turned out really good, and man, it looks brand new. What's interesting about this, I mean, a lot of people skip over this stuff, or they don't dress everything out. No one will ever see this unless, again, T-Bone comes in here 20, 30 years from now and has to do any work, any sort of metal work on the backside, then he'll see a lot of this work that was done underneath the panels. But this is all going to get covered up, and yeah, it's kind of a shame because it looks so damn good. But I went ahead, coated everything that I'm going to be welding on, ground that all down. It's got the weld-through primer on all my seams, so across the bottom of the rear trunk drops here, across the back of the tail panel, and everywhere that we're going to be welding really needs that weld-through primer. You can see here, all around the perimeter of my quarter panels all done. Got our lizard skin all cured up here. I mean, you guys can hear it. It's the sound deadening, parts of this are really key. Takes out a lot of that tinniness of the metal and also replicates a lot of what the factory did originally. And honestly, it's a lot of fun to spray. I should also mention that. But I've got my front fenders all bolted on and pretty well set. We're going to be doing a little bit of adjustments, and what you want to make sure you do, 2 things, is that get your front fenders on, line everything up, because this line, this body line right here, should be level and flat across there. The line across the bottom of the door to the front fender, that line should also be level, as well as the body lines on this rear quarter panel. So before we weld the quarter panel on cockeyed or whatnot, you want to make sure that all of your body lines flow all the way across the car before you make it permanent, because there's not a whole lot of ways to fix that. And yeah, measure twice, cut once, right? So I went ahead, I've got those on. Something else I'm going to do, which I have not talked about before, is that you want to make sure that you put your door seals on before you fit your quarter panels. The reason for that is that you guys can see here, I've got this completely cinched in. Okay, that is not how that door is going to sit, and I definitely don't want to suck the quarter panel all the way in, because then the door is going to end up sticking out and it's going to create a lot of headaches. So I recommend buying 2 pairs of door seals, one for the bodywork phase because it's going to see some heat, it's going to see a lot of dust and different things. I'll rip those off and then actually put a finishing set of door seals on it after paint, and once everything's kind of finalized, and then it should be perfectly set. But and you guys can see too, the top of this is sucked in, the bottom of it's out. Again, you don't want to weld the quarter panel in like that, because then it's going to be completely off center. But yeah, pretty well set here. So the other side looks exactly the same. We got it all ground down, Pour 15, got the front fenders on and everything else. And now is where we're going to make a lot of little tweaks and adjustments. One last thing that I'm going to do is actually cut some vertical strips here in between my plug weld holes, and so that way I can actually shape the quarter panel, pry it out as we work our way down to make sure that the quarter panels are a perfect match to the doors. So let's get it done. All right guys, so I've got the back half all pinned together here and everything went pretty smooth. And I say smooth, you probably noticed I've got this shiner going on my damn eye. I split my eye wide open, or the corner of my eye, pulling the door glass out of the passenger side. I've got an appointment this next week to get the car blasted, and then we're gonna epoxy it and move it on to body work. And yeah, I was looking down trying to pull the damn glass out, and of course it freed up right when my face was over it, and popped myself and spent the next hour or so bleeding down my face. So I went ahead, I edited that out of this video. You guys won't see any of that. But everything went back in the original Cleco holes that it did before. We've got our trunk latch support all in place. I went ahead, I cut the bracing out of this thing. So, I was hoping by doing that, it might, open up some space here and make me feel like there was a little bit more space, but my big ass is gonna have a really hard time fitting in the back of this trunk to do the welding I need to do. So not looking forward to that. But one thing I am looking forward to is finalizing these door gaps here. And I say finalize, we're still gonna come back, we're gonna tweak these, we're gonna make sure that they're absolutely perfect once we get weight onto the car and the car is actually a roller, because these gaps will move just a little bit here and I wanna make sure that it's perfect. So I've got this Big Kid Blocks tool here. You guys probably know who Bryce Green is. He's got his own company now. He's formerly of Kindigit Design, but he was their head painter. He's got some really, really cool sanding blocks that I'll show you guys in a future episode as well. But I'm using his gapping tool, and I'll show you guys soon how to actually use this tool. But what I really like to do with it is that there's a flat edge of it, and you can use this for lining up your panels and using it like this. So what I want to make sure I do here is that I follow the contour and make sure that the door to the quarter panel is perfectly flush, okay? We don't want to have to build up a whole bunch of body filler here to make sure our transitions are good. So we made all those accordion slits on the rear quarter, and what that's going to allow me to do is fold this in and just walk that all the way down, and we're going to pin it in with probably about a half dozen screws or so on the way down. Just little bit by little bit. You guys can see I already sunk the top here, and even that, I'm looking at it now, might need a little bit of adjustment. And my friend the wood block and also my other friend the red hammer here are really good at making those fine adjustments and making sure that things line up across. So, but this is just about taking your time, making sure that you get it exactly right, because time spent here is a whole lot of time saved when it comes to the bodywork phase. And if you're doing your own bodywork, well, you only got yourself to blame. But if you're having a body guy do the bodywork after you finish the metalwork, he's really gonna appreciate you taking the time and making sure that your panels fit good, you got good transitions between everything, and it all lines up, guys. All right, guys, we'll take a look at it. You guys tell me what you think. Body lines look good. The gaps are looking pretty good. We're still gonna dial it in, obviously, but It's been a long time since this car was together like this, and especially looking good. Can I see the light at the end of the tunnel? I don't know if I'd go that far yet, but well, I can show you guys that. It's not a surprise anymore. But man, guys. Well, from here I think I'm gonna grab a cold tasty beverage and look at it from all sorts of different angles and just take it in, because it does feel really, really good to be to this point. And yeah, I'm gonna get cranking first thing in the morning on getting all the welding done on our rear quarters here. So I'm gonna get some rest, grab a cerveza or two, and yeah, let's finish this job up. All right guys, so it's morning of day 2 out here, and everything looks great, and it is time to finally weld these panels up. And then I'm gonna finish off by showing you guys how I lead these panels, because yes, again, I still do that. But you guys have seen me weld panels before. Okay, we're just gonna pick a place and we're just gonna start working our way all the way down, all the way around the entire panels. We've got a lot of welding to do here, you know, and as we go, obviously we're gonna make things fit, right? And just make sure all of our body lines match up here. We got nice tight gaps. We've also got to get our trunk supports welded in. We've got to get our latch support welded in, and everything else that I haven't done yet. So, and I am absolutely dreading getting into this damn trunk to try to get some of the welding that's up inside of there, because it's kind of tight, and it's going to be a nightmare. So without further ado, guys, let's get set up and let's get this welding knocked out. All right, guys, well, after what felt like an eternity, my quarter panels are finally welded, ground down. Everything turned out really, really nice. And now we're kind of on to the final touches here, which are leading the corner panels. So this is a hot topic, certainly a topic of debate, okay? Do you lead? Do you use body filler? What do you do, okay? There's a lot of different options for this, a lot of pros and cons of every which way that you want to do it. I will tell you there's a lot of really, really good new fillers out there. You got like all metal, you got different things that you can spread across here, okay? A lot of guys just take straight body filler or Bondo, whatever you want to call it here, and they just cake it and pave the whole thing with body filler. So that's not my style. I would prefer to add metal to metal here. It's the tried and true way to make sure that it's gonna last over time. And I mean, you know, if you look at your car today, if it was a rusted pile of shit like most of mine are, there's a good chance that your lead seams are probably about the only thing that's left solid onto the car. They can withstand heat cycles, they can be left out in the sun. You're never gonna get any swelling, you're never gonna get, you know, all your heat cycles are gonna match with it being metal to metal. So I prefer to play it safe. I definitely do not wanna have to go back and scrape the paint off this thing and have to repaint or touch up anything after the fact. So we're gonna do it once, we're gonna do it right, and we're gonna lead these quarters. Now, I did do a really, really in-depth leading DIY a couple months ago, where I really went like super into depth on how to do this entire thing. So I'm gonna kind of give a very high level overview, show you on this side, kick it into fast forward, lead this side, lead the other side, and wrap up this video. But just to kind of show you guys some of the tools that I use, first and foremost, guys, your PPE, don't mess around with this, okay? Lead poisoning is a real thing. A 3M half face with P100 cartridges will do the trick, will keep you safe, and will save your lungs and keep you around for a little bit longer. Okay, so the first thing that we're gonna do, we're gonna start off, we're gonna use a little bit of heat. I prefer the blue torch here. I've used the yellow MAP gas before, but it puts a lot of heat in the panels and you stand a better chance of actually swelling, especially your roof skin. Chances are your roof skin's probably a little bit thinner than the brand new AMD sheet metal that you just put on there. And once you swell it, really, really hard to shrink it and make it go back. So the propane tanks, the blue tanks, are a whole lot better with that. So as we heat it up, we're then gonna use just your normal copper scrub brush and also some tinning butter. Now, if you skip this stage, you will notice that as you burn your lead onto your panel, it is just going to drip and it's gonna run down your panel and onto your floor. It's not going to stick. You absolutely have to tin your metal. And you guys will see too that, you know, the surface prep on this, it's really easy to see when it's tinned. It turns like a chrome shiny, even shinier than it is right now. And you know, you can clearly see that it's ready to accept the lead. I did skip a quick step here, and that is we need to clean this thing. Even with me going through it, and I just hit it with that flap disc, it looks pretty clean, but we've got to get in between all of these welds here that are kind of halfway ground down, and just make sure that we can get in there, clean that all up, and make it a good surface. But then we'll tin it. We will then take our lead sticks here. So you can buy this. I typically buy it in 5 pounds or 10 pounds at a time. I believe it's tptools.com. You guys can buy this in large amounts. The sticks are a lot bigger and a whole lot cheaper than going through Eastwood. You get about half the amount for about double the price, it seems, through them lately. So, but we'll burn that onto the car, and then after that, we will use our tallow here with our paddle. We'll heat this all up. We can then use that to spread out the lead across the entire panel. And then finally, you wrap it up with just your simple metal files here. And you get it pretty close, get it just about dialed in, and then I'll come back over the top of this with an 80 grit DA, clean this all up. And at that point, it is ready to move on to body work. So this is kind of intimidating to a lot of people, guys, I promise, and I hope I can show you really how easy it is to do this. You do it once, and you can be a pro at it. Typically by the end of the time that you do your first car, it's really not that hard to do. And again, you get the satisfaction of knowing if it's done right, it's gonna last a long, long time. So enough talking, let's get this lead onto the car and let's wrap up this video. This is gonna be a long one, so let's get to work. Alrighty, you guys, well, I can officially say, at least for today, I'm wrapped up on this car, okay? There's 2 pieces left, and before you guys call me out for them, the supports that go on the inside of the upper quarters here for the windows, those still have to go in. Both of them are pretty corroded and rusty and everything, so we're gonna clean those up, epoxy those. I'll weld them in at a later time. Not a whole lot to see with doing that, but man, taking a step back, guys, appreciating how much of this car was completely apart on the ground, in pieces on the floor, screwed together a million times. It has come together really, really nice. So you guys saw we got our wheelhouses in, we got our tail panel in, we've got both quarters on. Probably one of the best lead jobs I've personally ever done. I couldn't be happier. I really couldn't be happier. The body lines look good. We fit up the rear valance and also fit the deck lid. We're gonna have to do some modifications on here. Came out a little bit narrower than what it was originally, so we'll address that in a future video. But man, guys, I know I say it in every video that, you know, huge step forward and everything else, because we've kind of done this car in chunks, you know, all the pans, we've done the front clip, now with the entire back half in one video. But you know, doing all of that work is such a huge load off and a monster step forward for the car. So from here, the next video, guys, is going to be the US Car Tool Stage 3 chassis stiffening kit with the torque boxes, the frame connectors, everything. It's been sitting in the garage now for quite a few weeks, and yeah, we're gonna get that on the car, and then it's time to move on to some fun stuff. So I mentioned my friends at QA1 hooked me up huge with the 4-link kit, with all the stuff for the chassis. We're gonna get that on this car. We're gonna start fitting everything up, welding the 4-link in. We're going to also start disassembly on the Challenger, getting the 6.4 Hemi out of that, starting to fit that up as well. And man, things are gonna happen pretty quick here over the next couple weeks, so you don't want to miss it, guys. Stay tuned, and again, if you haven't done so yet, hit that subscribe button. You're not gonna want to miss a second of what I got coming up for this car. So I'll see you guys next time.